Good morning, student. We are studying capillary circulation, so also called microcirculation, and it's our second half of the lecture. Before to start today's points, that is, we have to concentrate today on tissue fluid formation. We'll just summarize what we studied in our previous lecture under microcirculation. In previous lecture, I told what is the competency of this class. At the end of this class, you should be able to describe these are the objectives, and you should be you should be able to describe it. Okay, these are the points we are studying. I also told about the introduction, what we studied in previous class. Introduction, structure of capillary circulation. This diagram I explained last time. Say what is a capillary bed in the tissue level, and in this capillary bed particularly we discuss what is the role of arterioles and meta-arterioles and precapillary sphincter to regulate the blood flow to the tissue. So if you see these arterioles, it is highly muscular smooth muscle coat, okay, and it is around the arteriole. This muscular coat is supplied by the sympathetic nerves, so this regulate the contraction, that is a vasoconstriction, and vasorelaxation, that is arteriole contraction and arteriole relaxation, and in this way it regulates the blood flow. Also it divides and redivides into the meta-arterioles. Meta-arterioles also intermittently, it is encircled by smooth muscle coat. See, the intermittently means there is a gap, and this colored जो थोड़ा yellowish color में दिख रहा है, that is smooth muscle and coat of smooth muscle, but it is intermittently. And from this meta-arteriole, the capillary it starts. At the origin of this capillary, there is a sphincter that is also made up of smooth muscle, and that sphincter is called the precapillary sphincter. So diameter of the meta-arterioles and capillary sphincter, it regulates the blood flow to the tissue. Okay, this diagram we studied in our previous class. Also in previous class we studied this magnified diagram of the structure of capillary wall. It's a capillary membrane. So this is the capillary membrane structure, okay, and you know, here the this layer also it is shown there. So in this structure we studied how there are the spores, special pores, and it is required to transport of the substances across the membrane. Okay, now we'll continue. So this is the structure we studied. Okay, also I told the vasomotion of capillaries, that is particularly arterioles, control the blood flow, and primary determinant of this blood flow is concentration of the oxygen at the tissue level. Okay, so if the decrease in oxygen level in the tissue increases vasomotions, that means there is more blood flow to the tissue. In previous class already we started our discussion about tissue fluid formation. So I told that what is interstitium. Interstitium means it is the spaces between the cell, okay, and the fluid in the interstitium is called the tissue fluid or interstitial fluid, and it is an important medium for exchange of the substances between cells and capillary. Okay, so interstitium, what is interstitium? The fluid present in the interstitium is called the interstitial fluid, and this fluid it acts as a medium. Okay, and here also we summarize that total body fluid, the extracellular fluid and intracellular fluid. Okay, so 20% is extracellular fluid and 40% is intracellular fluid. Okay, we also discussed in our previous class the structure of interstitium. This is a structure, okay, of the interstitium, that is a space between the cell. Then in our previous class only we enter in the mechanism of formation of interstitial fluid or tissue fluid. Students, I want to remind you that there may be the long question on describe the mechanism of tissue fluid formation or capillary filtration, and what are the forces or forces determine the tissue fluid formation. So when the long question is there, you have to describe these forces, how they are working, and how they cause the tissue fluid formation. Okay, uh, take one by one. There are the four Starling forces. Okay, list is the capillary pressure, that is the pressure, hydrostatic pressure in the vessel, that is capillary, and this is called the capillary pressure. Then second force is the interstitial fluid pressure, that is a pressure in the interstitium, pressure outside the capillary. Okay, and that is called the interstitial fluid pressure. Then third force is colloid osmotic pressure in capillary and the colloid osmotic pressure outside the capillary. Okay, because mechanism of formation is across the cell membrane, across the membrane of capillary. Okay, and these are the forces acting across the capillary membrane. Okay, so inside the capillary, the colloid osmotic pressure, that is called the plasma colloid osmotic pressure, and outside the capillary, that is in the interstitium, that is interstitial fluid, colloid osmotic pressure. The word colloid means it is due to the protein, and proteins in the plasma, proteins in the interstitial fluid, and it creates the pressure that is called the osmotic pressure. Remember, osmotic pressure is always negative pressure because it causes the osmosis, okay, it's a negative. Okay, I will tell you the figures in the next slide. Before to that, see the difference between the diffusion and filtration. Diffusion is from high concentration to low concentration, but filtration is due to the pressure difference. Okay, and if you see in the capillary, there is a filtration of the fluid from capillary to the interstitium. Okay, and particularly if you see at the arterial end of the capillary, there is a filtration of the fluid from capillary to the interstitium, and if you go to the venous end of the capillary, there is absorption of the fluid from interstitium into the capillary. Okay, so क्या होता है, वेनस एंड आर्टेरियल एंड को फ्लूइड, आर्टेरियल एंड उसमें ज्यादा फिल्ट्रेशन होता है, और अगेन इट इज रीअब्सॉर्ब एट द वेनस एंड. So this is a mechanism of formation of tissue fluid. So this mechanism, it depends on these figures of these forces. Okay, and if you see the formula, the net filtration pressure, it is PC, that is capillary pressure minus interstitial fluid pressure minus uh, this thing, that is a capillary colloid osmotic pressure plus interstitial fluid colloid osmotic pressure. So if this uh, sum of these all forces, if it is positive, then there is a filtration of the fluid from capillary to the interstitium, and if it is negative, then there is a absorption of or fluid, it enters into the capillary. Okay, so we always say the word from capillary to the interstitium, okay, because fluid formation is from capillary to the interstitium through the capillary wall, okay. Now uh, I told that at the arterial end it is positive and at the venous end it is negative. जैसे कि आप आर्टेरियल एंड साइड देखा तो वो पॉजिटिव होता है, जैसे जैसे हम कैपिलरी में आगे आगे जाएंगे टूवर्ड्स द वेनस एंड तो नेगेटिव हो जाता है. सो हाउ इट टेक्स प्लेस, we have to continue. We'll see the summation of all these forces, okay. Next slide we'll see the figures. What are the figures of these forces normally ये figures कैसे कितना है, okay, और वो याद रखो. So these figures you have always keep in mind. These figures are also important in case is a MCQ on the these figures. So पहले figures याद रखो, then you can easily understand where the filtration it occurs or where the diffusion it occurs, okay. Now see, exchange of the fluid through the capillary membrane, and these Starling forces are acting. First Starling force, you know, it is a capillary pressure, and if you see the capillary pressure, it decreases from arterial end to the venous end, okay. जैसे कि हम कैपिलरी में गया तो कैपिलरी में the mean capillary pressure is about 17 millimeter of the mercury, but initially at the arterial end it is 30, and if you go ahead it slowly decreases and up to the exactly at the venous end of capillary it is 10 millimeter mercury, okay. Then interstitial fluid pressure. Interstitial fluid means it is pressure outside the capillary, that is in the interstitium, that is a space between the cell, and it is always the negative pressure. It is -3 millimeter of mercury. Remember that there is a lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system, you know, it works in association with the circulatory system, and lymphatic system drains the extra fluid from the tissue, okay, and that's why it keeps the pressure negative in the interstitium. Interstitium pressure is always negative and it is -3. Now see the plasma colloid osmotic pressure and interstitial fluid colloid osmotic pressure. I told that colloid means it is due to the proteins, and if you see in the plasma the concentration of the proteins in the plasma is more than the outside in the interstitium where the protein concentration is less, and that's why here the osmotic pressure in the blood, all over the blood, in all segments of circulatory system including capillary arteries, veins, everywhere in blood, the plasma colloid osmotic pressure, it is due to the proteins in the plasma, and it is 28 millimeter of mercury, okay. You know, I told that it is a negative pressure because it causes the osmosis towards the capillary, towards the blood, and plasma colloid osmotic pressure in the interstitium where the protein concentration is less, that's why it is 8 millimeter of mercury, okay. Now we'll continue how these forces acting and it cause the formation of tissue fluid, okay. So these forces we have to do the calculations how they are acting. Now we'll take first what happens is at arterial end, okay, because at the arterial end there is a filtration. Initially I told, if you see at the arterial end there is a filtration of fluid from the uh, from the capillary to the interstitium, okay, and at the venous end there is a reabsorption. First we'll concentrate on arterial end, okay. At arterial end, see how the forces are working. If you see, there are the forces, they are working from capillary to the interstitium and from interstitium to the capillary. So first we'll see the forces tending to move the fluid outward. जो forces responsible to move the fluid outside the capillary, these forces are, for example, hydrostatic pressure in the capillary, that is blood pressure in the capillary, and which is 30 millimeter of mercury, okay. Then the hydrostatic pressure in the interstitium, and interstitial fluid pressure, it is, I told that 3 millimeter of, but it is a negative pressure. Okay, that's why it also caused the to move the fluid outside. Okay, then in addition to that, there is a colloid osmotic pressure in the interstitium, and that is also the negative pressure, that is, it causes the osmosis. So all these forces, if you take together, it becomes 41 millimeter of the mercury, and which cause the movement of the fluid from capillary into the interstitium, that is a 41 millimeter of mercury. Now these are the outward force. Now see the inward force, that is working in opposite direction. So here at the arterial end, plasma colloid osmotic pressure, it is a 28 millimeter of the mercury, and it acts as a negative pressure because it causes the osmosis of the fluid in opposite direction, that is from interstitium to the capillary, and that's why it is 28. Okay, now take the summation of these two figures, and if you take the summation, outward force, inward force, if we minus outward force say inward force minus किया, तो net outward or the net filtration pressure at the arterial end will be 13 millimeter of mercury, that is, it is from capillary to the interstitium. Okay, and that's why there is a filtration of the fluid from capillary to the interstitial space, and that is what happens is at the arterial end. So there is a net filtration of fluid at the arterial end. Now what happens is at the venous end. Okay, ये याद रखो arterial end को क्या होता है, हम अभी venous end देखेंगे. At the venous end, how the forces are working? Forces tending to move the fluid inward and outward. Outward forces and inward forces at venous end. पहले हम inward force देखेंगे, तो inward is same like at what it was at the arterial end, same, that is a plasma colloid osmotic pressure, and it is 28 millimeter of mercury. Okay, so 28 millimeter of the mercury, it causes the osmosis, that is, it is a inward force. Inward means from interstitium to the capillary. Then outward forces tending to move the fluid outward. These are at the venous end, capillary pressure is 10 millimeter of mercury. Interstitial fluid pressure is 3 millimeter of the mercury. It is negative, but it works as a outward. And here the interstitial fluid colloid osmotic pressure is 8 millimeter of the mercury. So if we compare with the arterial end, these two figures are same, but only one figure is changed. That is, blood pressure at venous end is 10, and it was 30 in the arterial end. Arterial end में 30 था, इसलिए ये it becomes the 41. But here it is decreased to the venous end 10. Okay, and that's why there is a more inward force. So we'll take the summation. The 21 is inward force minus 28 is inward force minus 21 is outward force. So total inward force, it becomes 7 millimeter of the mercury, and that's why at the venous end there is a reabsorption of the fluid from outside to the inside the capillary, that is from interstitium to the capillary. Okay, so arterial end को क्या होता है, net filtration is there, and at venous end there is a absorption of the fluid. So this is the general mechanism we discuss. Okay, now we'll take arterial end and venous end together, because ऐसा कुछ 100% partition नहीं है कि ये इधर ये होता है और उधर वो होता है. So if we take together arterial and venous end, so what is the picture? So if we take together, that is called the Starling's equilibrium of capillary exchange. And if we take all together forces, so what will happen? So if we take on the venous end and arterial end together, then finally we get net outward force, we get only 0.3 millimeter of the mercury. Or if you try to remember, there is always more filtration than the reabsorption of the fluid in the capillary. हमेशा थोड़ा capillary से जो भी fluid आउटसाइड फिल्टर होता है उसमें से ऑलमोस्ट पूरा is again reabsorbed but slightly remain there because there is a slightly more outward force than the inward force, and that becomes the 0.3 millimeter mercury. And this extra fluid that is which entered in the interstitium, because outward flow ज़्यादा है as compared to inward, and जो extra fluid होगा interstitium में, that is drained by the lymphatic system. You know there is a lymphatic system and it also drain the fluid. थोड़ा जो बाहर ज़्यादा जाता है, because if we take together the outward force is more than the inward force. Okay, so how it comes, see the figures. So if we take together, then the outward forces are, that is of which tends to move the fluid outward. Outward forces are, mean capillary pressure is 17.3 millimeter of the mercury. Okay, that is a 30 एक एंड को है और 10 अदर एंड को है, तो उसका मीन आएगा 13 पॉइंट. Then remaining figures are same. Interstitial fluid pressure is 3 millimeter of the mercury. Interstitial fluid colloid osmotic pressure is 8 millimeter of the mercury. And if we take together the total outward force in whole capillary, if we take consider whole capillary, it is 28.3 millimeter of mercury. Okay, then if we take the mean forces tending to move the fluid inward, that is again same figure, that is the plasma colloid osmotic pressure is 28 millimeter. Take the summation of the mean pressure and here we get 0.3 millimeter. So net outward force is more than inward, and that's why there is a net filtration of the fluid from capillary to the interstitium. So in this way, up to this point, we discuss how the tissue fluid formation it occurs, that is called the mechanism of tissue fluid formation. And in this tissue fluid formation, the Starling forces are working. Okay, and there are the 4 forces, and if we take all forces together, then that is called the Starling equilibrium of the capillary exchange. And if we take all forces together, we get net outward force 0.3 millimeter of mercury. That's why there is net filtration of fluid. Okay, thus the formation of tissue fluid is by filtration and its volume is regulated by reabsorption. So agar I say in some examples, if there is more filtration, that will be reabsorbed in the capillary, our remaining extra fluid that will be drained into the lymphatic vessels. Okay, lymphatic system, it removes the extra fluid from the tissue, and in this way in the interstitium always minus 3 millimeter of the pressure is maintained. Okay, so students, up to this point we discuss the mechanism. In case there is any, now we'll continue some applied part, will continue, we'll go there for the edema. Okay, and you know what is edema? There is, if there is a excessive accumulation of the fluid in the tissue level, that is called the edema. So if there is disturbance, if any Starling forces get disturbed, you know how these forces are working to keep always negative pressure in the interstitium. Okay, and if there is a disturbance of these forces, so it leads into the accumulation of the blood, and that is called the inflammation of the tissue. That leads into the inflammation of the tissue, swelling of the tissue, called the edema. And you know these forces, for example capillary pressure, blood pressure agar बढ़ गया, so what will happen? Then protein concentration is changed, that is in the plasma, interstitium. So colloid osmotic pressure it increases or decreases. Okay, and if it is changed, then how it affects on the outward inward forces. Okay, suppose hydrostatic pressure बढ़ गया capillary में, so there will be the more outward force, that is net filtration will increase. If plasma colloid osmotic pressure is decreased, you know the plasma colloid osmotic pressure is 28, अगर protein concentration कम हो गया, plasma proteins कम हो गया, तो what will happen? The 28 figure will be decreased, and there will be, it will affect on the filtration of the fluid. Okay, or if there is more accumulation of the proteins outside, that is in the interstitium, then also there will be the more osmosis and there will be the more accumulation of the fluid. So if these are disturbed, and when these forces get disturbed, if we go to the clinical side, there are the many diseases. Okay, that is a there. If there is a problem in cardiovascular system, if there is problem in the kidney, if there is a problems in the endocrine system. Okay, so this all leads into the disturbance of these forces and causes the edema. So we'll continue with the edema. And here, what is the edema? So first, edema means if the excessive accumulation of the fluid in the tissue is called the edema. Okay, so what is the edema? Excessive accumulation of the fluid in the tissue. Depending on the place of accumulation, two types of the edema. That is intracellular edema and extracellular edema. Intracellular means if the collection of the fluid is inside the cell, this is called the intracellular edema. And if the accumulation of the fluid is outside the cells, then it is called the extracellular edema. Okay, and both it leads into the inflammation, that is the swelling. We can see the swelling of the tissue. Okay, first we'll take intracellular edema. So what are the causes of intracellular edema? Okay, so intracellular edema, here malnutrition, then problem in metabolism, then edema due to the inflammation of the tissue for any cause, that is an infection, or there may be a trauma to the tissue. So all types of the inflammation can lead into the edema. So malnutrition means, cell membrane get disturbed. If malnutrition means if the food is not diet is not maintained, or there is a less protein in the food, so the integrity of the cell membrane get disturbed. Cell membrane get disturbed, and what will happen? So ultimately there is a leakage of the sodium ions. The concentration of the sodium ions is more in extracellular fluid. That sodium ions get leak inside the cells. Okay, and sodium ions enters inside the cell. Okay, and the sodium ions, okay, it creates the osmotic pressure, so it causes the endoosmosis. Okay, that is diffusion of the fluid from outside to the inside the cell, and it leads into the edema. Okay, now second cause, edema due to the poor metabolism. Same thing will happen. So if metabolism is poor, that means there is no formation of required energy, and energy, ATPs are required to maintain the integrity of the cell, that is the integrity of the cell membrane. There is a sodium potassium pump it working because it requires the ATPs, and pump it regulates the sodium ion and potassium ion concentration. For example, if the pump get disturbed, what will happen? There will be the more accumulation of the sodium ions inside, or it disturbs the integrity of the membrane. Ultimately sodium ions comes inside and it causes the endoosmosis. Okay, then inflammation of the tissue due to whatever the reason, it increases the again permeability of the cell. There is movement of the ions including sodium ions. Other ions also enters in the cell and causes the endoosmosis. Okay, and leads into the edema. So these are the causes of intracellular edema. Okay, now next slide. What is extracellular edema? So I told that if the accumulation of the fluid is outside the cells, that is in the interstitium, that is called the extracellular edema. And see the causes. So if the any system get disturbed, and that leads into the edema, first we'll take increased capillary pressure or filtration pressure. Just we discussed the Starling forces. The capillary pressure is, the mean pressure in the capillary is about 17 millimeter of the mercury. Okay, 30 at arterial end and 10 at venous end. If this capillary pressure it increase, that means there is net increase in outward force. Okay, so we'll take, for example, if there is a arteriole dilatation, the arterioles is very important part. It is just before the capillary. There is a meta arterioles, sphincters are there, precapillary sphincters and arterioles are there. Due to the any reason, if there is a arteriole dilatation, it occurs. एक example है, this arterial tone. This arterial tone is mainly maintained by the sympathetic tone. Okay, so diameter of the arteriole is regulated by sympathetic tone because there is a sympathetic tone on arterioles. If there is a loss of sympathetic tone, that means there is a arteriole dilatation, and if there is a arteriole dilatation means there is more blood flow to the capillary. Okay, and capillary pressure it increases. Okay, also there is a vasodilator drugs, it causes increase in, so this all leads into the loss of the fluid from capillary to the interstitium and leads into the edema. Second cause, increased venous pressure. Venous pressure increase due to the some diseases, like if there is a heart failure. Okay, if the heart failure means it creates the back pressure and leads into the increase in venous pressure. Then venous obstruction. Okay, maybe due to the infection, swelling, or whatever the cause, if there is a venous obstruction, then increases venous pressure. Failure of the valves in the vein, paralysis of the muscle. Okay, you know, the movement of the muscle, it helps to move the fluid in the vessels. And if there is a paralysis, it increases venous pressure. Then immobilization of the parts of the body. Okay, that immobilization also causes the swelling. Then effect of prolonged traveling or standing. So if you travel for more time, or if it stands for more time, then in standing position, due to the increase in hydrostatic pressure, there is also the increases venous pressure. Ultimately there is increase in capillary pressure. Okay, so increase venous pressure due to any reason what we discuss, it increases into the increase in capillary pressure, it leads into the increase in capillary pressure, and capillary pressure, it leads into the more filtration of the fluid, that is called the edema. Okay, now the next, it is a retention of large quantity of salt and water by the kidney. You know, kidney, it regulates the salt and water, and you know, if there is a retention of more salt and water, that is, you know, the salt has the tendency to hold the water. Ultimately there is increase in body volume, and it leads into the increase in capillary pressure, that is a blood pressure, capillary pressure, and there is more filtration of the fluid, that leads into the edema. So these all causes are there which ultimately cause the increase in capillary pressure or filtration pressure. Now the second cause, that is increased permeability of the capillary membrane. Now here the hydrostatic pressure is normal, but problem in capillary membrane. And you know, the permeability of the capillary membrane, if it is increased, for example, it can be happen in allergic condition, is a release in immune reaction. Okay, you know, in allergic condition, in immune reaction, histamine is released, and that histamine, it causes, हम कभी देखा होगा कि एलर्जिक कंडीशन में स्वेलिंग आता है टिश्यू को, तो वन ऑफ द मैकेनिज्म इज दैट हिस्टामिन, it acts on the cell membrane, that is a capillary membrane, and increase the permeability. Okay, and causes more filtration. Then bacterial infection also, some types of the bacterial infection, we get the inflammation because it causes increase in permeability of capillary membrane. Then release of substances P in this reaction, it also increases the permeability of capillary membrane. And increase in capillary membrane means, permeability of capillary membrane means there is a more diffusion of the fluid, and there is a net filtration of the fluid, leads into the edema. Okay, then students, decrease amount of plasma proteins. Now I told that the colloid osmotic pressure, that is a plasma colloid osmotic pressure, is one of the Starling force required for tissue fluid formation. And if the plasma protein level is decreased, okay, decrease plasma protein, what will happen? There is increase the interstitial fluid. You know, plasma protein, that of colloid osmotic pressure, plasma colloid osmotic pressure in the capillary, it is 28 millimeter of the mercury, and it causes the osmosis of the fluid. Okay, if the protein level is decreased, that means there is decrease in colloid osmotic pressure, and you know, it is a negative pressure. If it is decreased, then net outward force will be increased, and there is more filtration of the fluid. That means there is more formation of the tissue fluid and called the edema. Okay, then condition in which plasma proteins decreases. So you just mention when the plasma protein get decreased. For example, malnutrition. Okay, so level is less, or in diet proteins, diet में protein अगर कम रहा, so that also leads into decrease in plasma protein. The liver diseases, most of the proteins are synthesized in the liver, and plasma proteins are synthesized in the liver. If there is a disease, for example cirrhosis is there, then it leads into the decrease in protein synthesis and ultimately decrease in plasma proteins. There is decrease in interstitial fluid volume and edema. Then kidney disease like nephrotic syndrome, there is more loss of protein. Okay, usually protein loss is very negligible, or it is not there in the glomerular filtration. But if there is a nephrotic syndrome, then there is more loss of the protein, and again this leads into the increase in interstitial fluid volume. Okay, then loss of protein when there is a skin burn. If you see the burn patients, if there is a skin burn or and inflammation is there, then there is a loss of the protein. Ultimately loss of the protein means there is a decrease in plasma protein level, and it leads into the increase in tissue fluid, so edema. Then next cause is obstruction to the lymph flow. Fourth cause is obstruction to the lymph flow. I told that initially the lymphatic system, it is working in association with circulatory system, and the function of the lymphatic system is to drain the extra fluid. What is the function? Students remember, to drain the extra fluid from interstitium. This is one function, and second function is to remove the large particles, large molecules. Okay, so large protein molecules or bacteria or antigens, whatever, the lymphatic system, it removes it normally. Okay, and that means it kept the negative pressure in interstitium. Negative pressure, that is -3 pressure, is maintained. But if there is an obstruction, okay, what will happen? There is a back pressure, and then again it increases, it causes the edema. For example, it happens in cancer of lymph node. Okay, lymph node में cancer रहा तो भी it creates the back pressure. Then bacterial infections of lymph nodes. Okay, for example filariasis. Okay, here also there is a tremendous swelling of the tissue. Okay, and leads into the edema. So here the drainage is not proper and back pressure is created, fluid remain there in the interstitium, and that swelling is called the edema. Okay, students, up to this point we discuss the various causes of edema. Okay, that is how the different systems and the different four Starling forces are involved in the process of edema formation. Okay, edema, it occurs. Now see here, this is the last slide, and we'll see the two types of the edema is there. That is called the pitting edema and non-pitting edema. Okay, so what is pitting edema and non-pitting edema? Very simple. Normally, the volume of interstitial fluid is about 12 liters. Okay, interstitial fluid kitna hai? 12 liters hai. Okay, and there is negative pressure in the interstitium. Many times I told, in the interstitium there is a negative pressure, that is -3. Okay, and if this pressure is there is if it is increased towards the positive side, then that means there is an accumulation of the fluid. Okay, so it exerts the negative pressure about 3 millimeter in the interstitium, and in edema the pressure become positive, most of the fluid becomes free. In the interstitium, if the free form of the fluid, if it is increased above the 1%, then it leads into the formation of edema. Okay, that is a development of the edema. Edema develops when the free fluid is increased. Okay, when this area is pressed with the finger. Okay, so what is the meaning of the pitting? If we keep the finger on this edematous tissue, or this tissue which get inflamed, if we keep the finger, the displacement of the fluid occurs, producing the depression or the pit. Okay, so you keep the finger for a few seconds and remove finger, so you can see the depression, थोड़ा ऐसा pit करके depression आ जाता है, and that pit, if you see the pit, then that edema is called the pitting edema. Means when finger is removed, the pit remain for a few seconds, called the pitting edema. Okay, so this depression remain there for few seconds, that is called the pitting edema. Then what is non-pitting edema? The non-pitting edema, when this thing is not happen, means we didn't get the depression or pit, ये जो pit और जो displacement है ये नहीं होता. Okay, and that is called the non-pitting edema. When swelling of the cell is in intracellular fluid, if the type of the edema is intracellular fluid, okay, and if you keep the finger, the fitting it does not occur because fluid is inside the cell, and swelling, we get the swelling, but pitting, that is a development of displacement or the depression is not there, and that is called the non-pitting edema. It occurs in the intracellular edema. Also, in some cases of extracellular edema, if there is a clotting of interstitial fluid, then also we get the non-pitting edema. Okay, there is no pitting, and that is also called the non-pitting edema. So if you keep the finger, you feel it hard. Okay, वो जब हम टिश्यू पे फिंगर रखते हैं, the feeling is hard. Okay, hard surface, and it is called the non-pitting edema. So students, I think you understood this all things about the edema. So we'll end here. This is the end of the lecture. I think you followed the formation of the tissue fluid formation, and you know if there is a disturbance in the Starling forces, how it leads into the edema. Okay, so if you have any difficulties or any query, you can react me. Okay, we'll end here, students. Thank you. Bye bye.